just overall, like in small or big ways, have you seen the impact of coaching? Because both of you now are at least a few weeks to a month out of coaching. Sindy, it's been a little bit longer for you. So have you seen it show up in any way?
Yes, I can start. I guess one thing that just popped into my mind is that I'm thinking about some of the things that I learned and revisiting some of those. And I actually have like my journal over there with like, I want to type up some of the things we talked about because I feel like they're actual tangible things that I can do. Like, so, I mean, we discussed that I'm a hoarder, low key. I'm getting better.
I don't think you are, but
I know, I really am not. It's the Amazon packages. But a little bit. So what I've started to do is one of the things you told me, which is like a super no-brainer and I've seen before, but you were like, set a timer to clean 10 minutes. And I was like, why didn't I think of that? Like, that's so smart. Like, so I'm, like, things like that and just things about thinking about, like, for example, thinking like, do you feel lonely because you actually think it's sad? Or, like, do you feel sad because you actually think being lonely is sad? Or, like, just exploring, like, what is the emotion? And am I feeling that way because I'm really feeling that way? Or because of something else that I think I should be feeling? So, yeah, a lot of great tools.
I agree. I think for me, the biggest thing that I have taken away from our coaching sessions is that I feel a lot closer to myself. I know when we first started, I was very disconnected. Like there was a lot of lack of emotion and empathy for myself towards myself. And so over time, and now that I've kind of been out of it, I'm learning to work with me and not try to force me to do things or be my worst critic. Like I'm a lot kinder to myself.
Yeah.
If I'm having a frustrating day, instead of me just trying to get over it and suppress my emotions, I stop. Do I need to journal? Do you need to get a smoothie? Like, what's going on? What do you need to make you feel better right now? Like, what can we do to work with you? You know, I'm prioritizing myself a whole lot more. I just see an overall improvement in doing for myself and doing things that make me happy. That's one thing. I also have improved in assessing my emotions, like you said, Sindy, trying to figure out why do we feel this way? Is there anything underneath that's causing this emotion, and what's really going on? That's a big thing because for a long time I wouldn't assess my emotions. I'd just be mad and didn't know why I was mad. I'd be sad to know why I was sad. So that's another thing. Also, letting myself feel my emotions. That's been a really, really big thing for me. No longer suppressing them and just letting them come on out. If I got to cry, I just got to go ahead and cry. It's okay, you know. Giving myself grace to just not always be okay. And that's not always easy. Sometimes I don't want to be upset. Sometimes I just want to go ahead and get over it, but my body has to do its thing, you know. So learning to respect myself and work with me and not try to force me has been, I think, the biggest takeaway from our sessions. That and just getting closer to myself. I feel more in tune with me. I was very out of tune. My intuition is stronger now. My gut instincts are much stronger. I trust myself more. I feel more secure that if I have a weird feeling about something, it's there for a reason. I'm not feeling that weird feeling because for nothing, you know. I wouldn't trust that before. So now I'm more likely to trust me before I trust somebody else as far as judgment goes, you know. So I've definitely seen a lot of improvement on how I treat myself and how I view myself and how I view the world, basically, because of our sessions. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to add one last thing. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I feel like I feel like it is related to the fact of coaching and me trying to, I mean, I'm also concurrently in therapy too, so it's definitely like I'm trying to get it together. Like I said, I'm getting it together. Let's say that. See, another
it's
aspect.
together. You're just trying to experience it as together, but you're you're
okay.
good.
See, thank you. But so I actually started like I'm not really sure how it happened, but I was like noticing I was getting anxious, and just the pausing and thinking like, why am I getting anxious and I feel like I'm not eating enough, that thought process was strengthened while working with Chanel, just thinking that, like, also my therapist was like, you also need to think about this, like anxiety in general, but I think the fact of being like actually trying to use tools that I have, like journaling. So I was journaling and I was like noticing, damn, I'm really not eating enough. So then that motivated me to hire a nutritionist, because I'm like, anxiety is making me not eat enough, and because I value myself and I know that I have inherent worth, I should probably try to figure that out and make sure I'm eating enough.
I like that. Your ability, the way that you ask questions and the way that you are able to get us to shift our focus elsewhere, that is another big takeaway for me, is that I'm learning to shift my focus elsewhere, because I can be real good at harping on the negative, and that's all I'm looking at, and I'm just zoning in on that. And so now, whenever I catch myself doing it, I make myself stop and say, okay, what else is in the room? There's more than just this one little piece of furniture. There's more to the room than that. So what else can we look at? And that really has tremendously helped my, I guess, depression, my wallowing, any kind of negative emotions I've been dealing with in the past, that just kind of fester and become this really vicious cycle. The cycle doesn't exist anymore, because if I feel myself start to go down that path, I have tools. What am I grateful for? Let's journal. There are things that I have now that I can do that work that I didn't have before. So it's kind of like I have the solutions to solve the problems that I didn't have prior to. So like now when the problems arise, they don't last long. They're not as intense, and it subsides before I know it. So I'm not even really, there isn't anything to fester about or let marinate, because I've already gotten rid of it. So I will say the way that you are able to hear our issues and get us to reshift our focus, that's like top 3 things I've learned, because that perspective, I didn't realize how powerful perspective is, and how just simply looking at it in a different way or looking at something else is just, it changes the whole thing. So yeah, I would say that too.
Dope. Those are great takeaways. I love hearing that. You know, when we do our last session, like we do like some recapping, but I feel like the sitting with it and seeing what actually sticks is really valuable feedback. So I'm really glad to hear that anything sticks, but then specifically that those foundational shifts happen, because that is what I believe that I'm able to provide. So hearing that feedback is like so wonderful on my end.